What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. We're back at it again. We've got 3 games of the WNBA on. I'm going to go through each one. I'm going to see if we can find some value on the board. If that sounds interesting, let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Just to be clear on what we're doing today is what we're doing the last couple of days. I'm just going to pretty much use this time to create my short list to determine what I'm going to bet on. Don't want to make any quick decisions, but at least if I create a short list, then I can deep dive into these later. The last one, I had a pretty good reads in the last video. I must say so myself. For the most part, I think I read most of those games right. So hopefully we can do that once again with the 3 games that we have upon us. Firstly, a couple of things to shout out. Projections, I do rely heavily on projections, especially around minutes. I use RotoWire for that information. I am partnered up with them, so you'll get a juicy discount if you happen to sign up with them. There's a link for that down below. And obviously, Props Madness. This is the best tool you're going to find if you like player props. Got all the advanced data, shot charge, play type analysis. Go ahead and check it out. Good for the NBA and the W. You'll get a 7-day free trial. And you get a juicy discount if you use the code DARF when you sign up. So let's talk about these 3 games. The first one we have is the Aces versus the Valkyrie. So in terms of injuries, I'd say the main ones to call out here is that Tiffany Hayes is still missing from the Valkyries. I will say that the Valkyries are very difficult to bet on player prop wise because they get production from so many different girls. No one is consistently producing there. They don't have a clear 1 or 2. They kind of just play basketball, and whoever's playing well on that day happens to see more opportunity. So, I might steer away from the 3 girls that are available, but we'll have a look anyway. And then we've got the Aces as well. It's pretty clear where their production is going to come from. It's the only girls that happen to have lines. It just comes down to, will they produce enough? So let's take a look. Firstly, spread in this game is 12.5. We have a potential blowout. Game total at 162. This is also the first time that these teams are versing each other as well. So be sure to keep that in mind. But let's go. We've got Kayla Thornton. Her line's at 11.5. She's under in 3 straight. Up against the Aces. Let's take a look. So in terms of shot zones, looking at the Aces, they're terrible at defending in the paint, but it looks like they defend the 3-point line and the mid-range quite well. But whoever gets in the paint seems to have a lot of success against them. Their defense is very much the same last year. They gave up a lot of points in the paint as well. So that's very good to know. We might target some paint players. Actually, we won't, because I don't know who the hell is going to score in the paint for this mob. But Kayla Thornton, she's scoring 56% of her points in the paint. Does rely on some outside shooting as well. In terms of a play type, though, spot-up shooting, transition, and some putback buckets, none of those really match up well with the Aces. Now, I'm not saying that we should bet the under here, but I'd lean to the under. That's for sure when it comes to Kayla Thornton. Rebound-wise, lines at 5.5. She only had 3 boards in her last game. That last game was a very strange one, though. The Aces do allow the 2nd most rebounds in the league, so that's good to know, although 2nd fewest rebounds to her position. So given that's contradicting, I don't want to spend any time on her. I'm not interested in Kayla Thornton. We also have Veronica Burton, who's exploded when it comes to scoring the ball. 5 out of 7 games she's covered this line. Her last 2 games, she's absolutely killed it. Veronica Burton scores by getting to the free throw line, in the pick and roll, spot-up shooter, and in transition. Matchup's not necessarily the best. She's scoring, what's my hood math say, 47% of her points in the paint, though. So chances are she gets in there and gets some buckets, but the matchup is somewhat difficult. But let's break this thing down. In terms of the pick and roll, this is one of the more softer matchups she's had, though, because she's had some difficult teams to play. The Mercury are better at defending the pick and roll. The Lynx are better at defending the pick and roll. 2 games against the Liberty, who are better at defending the pick and roll. And the Spark, who defend the pick and roll quite nicely. The last time she had an easier matchup was against the Mystics. She scored 22 points. The Ace is only slightly better than the Mystics at defending this pick and roll. So although it's not the best matchup in the world, it's not bad here for Veronica Burton. And what about volume? Let's take a look at this firstly. She's playing 27 minutes a game this season. She's good for about 25 to 30 minutes. Let's look at her volume. I want to check her field goal attempts here. So she's averaging 8.7 shots per game this season, though. Line at 11.5. Don't love that, but she's somebody who scores almost half of her points from the 3-point line. So she's taken a lot of volume there. Tough matchup getting the threes, though. The Aces allow the second fewest attempts from downtown, meaning they run people off the line and they force them to drive. So for Veronica Burton, what happens in the games where she sucks? 1 from 7, 0 from 4. So this first game, she only played 17 minutes. Clearly wasn't part of the... Oh, Tiffany Hayes was playing. But now it looks like she's playing starter minutes more consistently, I must say. So she's seeing the minutes, seeing the opportunity. She actually gets to the free throw line extremely well, Veronica Burton. And this Aces team, they don't allow too many free throws, though. So, yeah, look, I'm not loving it. I'll probably lean to the over here, Veronica Burton. Assist-wise, 3.5 assists. It's not a bad matchup, I'd say, for assists. The Aces do allow the third most assists in the league. This is just the over. So you'd be looking at 4 boards at pretty bad odds. I'm not interested in playing that. Rebound-wise, 3.5. We've got 3 Citrone, Cloud, Ionescu. Strong rebounding guards. And the matchup against the Aces, second most rebounds allowed. Third most rebounds to her position. So the Aces limit rebounds to forwards. I'm assuming they limit them to centers as well, but we'll get to that. But for guards, they're actually giving up some boards to guards, which is quite interesting. So
No. Say goodbye. Bye, Dad.
see you.
No. Bye.
Isla, say goodbye. Isla, close the door and say goodbye because I'm recording something right now. I'm doing a video. Okay? Well, that was an interruption I wasn't expecting. So Veronica Burton rebounds. That's interesting. Veronica Burton rebounds. There could be something to it here. There could be. Let me just take a look at this. This is rebounds allowed. So that the only time she's played a team that actually allows a lot of rebounds, we're talking about the Liberty. She rebounded well in both of those games. In terms of rebounds allowed to guards, though, in softer matchups against the Spark, who will allow a lot of rebounds to guards, she went under in both times. So this is why I say we need a lot of sample size of data. If we don't have enough data, it's hard to identify these trends. So there's too many contradictions here for me to bet on Veronica Burton. So I'm going to pass on her. I do lean to the over in her points, though. We've got Temi Fag Benlay. Only the points prop available. 8.5 points. Temi scoring a lot of her points down low. 72% of her points in the paint, which is nice. We don't have a play type analysis yet because she doesn't have enough action in. So it's hard to make a call here on Temi. So I'm going to have to pass on that. So it looks like probably not going to make any bets on the Valkyries players unless more lines open up or unless I find more information here on Veronica Burton to understand these points props. We've got Asia Wilson from the Aces, the reigning MVP. Points line at 23.5. She did this in 2 or 6 games, averaging 22.8. Let's look at this defense for the Valkyries. So the Valkyries actually defend the paint quite a little bit better. What are they at for points in the paint? Second fewest points in the paint in the league, but they get murdered from the perimeter and the mid-range. Asia Wilson scoring 74% of her points in the paint. So the matchup's probably not the best one for her. They do, however, allow points to spot up, transition. They're good at limiting points in the pick and roll and the post. So Asia Wilson can score in a variety of ways anyway, but ultimately she's looking to get into the paint, which doesn't necessarily have the best matchup. So we have blowout risk. So the under could be on here. If we look at the overs, what are they? 12 for 18. So she had that in 2 games. For the most part, going under quite a lot. So I'd lean to the under there for Asia Wilson, but 23.5 might be a sweaty bet. Looking at her aces, her assists. Lines at 3.5 on some places, 4.5 on others. At 3.5, it could be interesting. But this is rare form for her. So she's having a career high 4.2 assists this season. It's the best number she's had in her career. So, yeah, it's very limited. We're only working with this. This season, she's passing a little bit better, but for the most part, I'm not too interested in that. Rebounds at 11.5. The Valkyrie allow the second most rebounds to centers. They're middle of the table in terms of overall rebounds allowed. So it's a good matchup for her to get boards is what I'm saying. But 11.5 could be a little bit difficult. She's averaging 10.5 rebounds this season. If there's a blowout, probably doesn't see the minutes. But at the same time, the Aces haven't had too many blowout wins. Probably just the one against the Connecticut Sun. She played 29 minutes in that game. So, yeah, for Asia Wilson and her high-ass lines, I'm not overly interested in betting on any of them. Probably the under. You could look at an under in her PRA because 40 PRA means she needs to have a monster game and really dominate in every which way. And I think in order for her to dominate, she's got to play some big minutes. So only 2 games she's gone over this line is where she played 36-plus minutes. In all the other games where it was either a blowout loss, blowout win, she's gone under this line. So, yeah, an under on Asia Wilson PRA, that's on my short list as well. I don't mind that. We've got Jackie Young. My gut tells me over. We'll see what the numbers tell me. Line's at 16.5 points. 2 out of 6 games, averaging 18.2 points per game this season. She scores 37% of her points above the break, where we know that it's a pretty good matchup. Pick and roll, spot up shooting, getting to the free throw line and in transition. So it's all a really good matchup here for Jackie Young, the 16.5. The issue here is that her volume is relatively inconsistent, but let's see if we can find some trends. Against teams who don't defend the pick and roll quite well, we've got 16 against Connecticut. She only plays 24 minutes because of a blowout. We've got 25 against the Mystics in 33 minutes. 14 against the Seattle Storm in 28 minutes. That was a blowout loss. The Spark defend the pick and roll quite well, so we can ignore that. Then we have the Seattle Storm again. They won by 5, 32 minutes. She only takes 9 shots. So the question there, I would say, is just volume. Could this be a bounce back spot perhaps against Seattle? It's crazy. The Aces haven't played a game in such a long time. So, yes?
Are you recording?
Yes, I am recording.
Sorry.
It's all right. Do you need something?
No, I'm just coming to say they're gone to give you a kiss.
You can kiss me if you want. It's just going to be recorded. And I'm not going to edit this out. You don't want to kiss me on camera? Okay. All right, cool. All right, back to the proceeding. Sorry, pardon the interruption. So Jackie Young on points. The matchup is good. Makes a ton of sense for her to go over. The volume's probably the only concern. Her volume is extremely inconsistent. Plus, we have a blowout risk here. What about her assists? 3.5. She's gone trending to the under here. She's averaging 2.8 assists this season. Heavily juiced to the under as well. 150. We ain't playing that. Rebounds at 3.5, plus money if you're looking at over 3.5 boards. It's good. Looks like a good matchup, I'd assume, because 6 out of the last 7 guards who've played the Valkyrie have gone over their rebounding line. But I'm not too keen on betting the over on someone's rebounds who doesn't typically rebound. So I think betting on the rebounds here for Jackie Young probably involves a little bit of luck, I would say, because there's no way that I can predict the matchups because this Valkyrie team just runs strange lineups. So pass on that. We've got Jewel Lloyd. This is her first season with the Aces. 12.5 is her line. She's averaging 10 points a game this season. She's only covered this line twice. Jewel Lloyd scoring predominantly as a spot-up shooter. 50% of her points come from spot-up shooting, and she does have a good matchup here. Jewel Lloyd, her volume is down this year as well. Trying to find her role in this new team. A really soft matchup, though. So against the teams that are soft against spot-up shooting, it's only been the Connecticut Sun where she lit them up for 20, and the Washington Mystics, she had 2 3-pointers in that game. I haven't taken a look at this, but if her 3-point line is at 1.5, I want to bet it. Let's take a look. Oh, it's at 1.5, but there is a ton of juice here. Look at minus 150, minus 130 on DraftKings, 135 on BetMGM. So I think those... Whew, I might have to check Player Profit to see what the odds are there. For Jewel Lloyd to make 2 3-pointers, I like it because this is pretty much all she does now. She's taking 6 3-point attempts per game. And if you're taking 6 and we only need 2, you're looking at a 33% hit rate there. And she's shot above 33% in 4 out of the 6 games. The game she went under, 1 from 6 against the Liberty, 1 from 2 against the Spark. So I don't mind this. Jewel Lloyd for 2 3-pointers. The odds are terrible, so you might have to parlay this with something else. But if you go Jewel Lloyd for 2 3-pointers, maybe an Aces money line or something else. Asia Wilson for 8 rebounds, perhaps. But yeah, or something from a completely different game. But I think, Jewel Lloyd to make 2 3-pointers makes a ton of sense because that's her new role here as part of this team. I would have trusted her to cover her points prop, but to make 2 3-pointers, come on, Jewel. 4 out of 6. She's averaging 2.5 makes per game, and she's got a really good matchup here against the Valkyrie. Allow a ton of points above the break. Yeah, it just makes too much sense to me. 3rd in 3-point attempts allowed. All right, Jewel Lloyd, let's go. Chelsea Gray, her line's at 10.5. That's a little bit low. Her line normally sits a little bit higher than this. She's also scoring a lot in spot up, getting to the free throw line, transition, and in the pick and roll. She's a little bit more diverse. Her shot volume's a little bit more consistent, meaning it's not high. You have to rely on some sort of efficiency there. I wonder what her 3-point line is. Her 3-point line is at 1.5 as well, and it's at plus money. She's also covered this in 4 out of 6 games. Her volume's not as high as Jewel Lloyd's, though. 4.8 attempts per game, making 2. So she's shooting a better percentage than Jewel Lloyd. We've got 67, 57, 33, 25. 0 from 3 here. 3 from 5 against the Liberty. Shit. Chelsea Gray to make 2 3-pointers got my attention too. So that's at plus money. So you could either take Chelsea Gray for 2 3-pointers at plus money. You could also take Jewel Lloyd for 2 and Chelsea Gray for 1, perhaps. Chelsea Gray's hit 1 3-pointer in 5 out of 6 games this season. Okay, so I'm going to have to take a deeper dive into that. We've got Jewel Lloyd, Chelsea Gray to bury them from deep. Potentially Veronica Burton, but yeah, it's a little bit risky. But yeah, that's where my mind goes. That's the first game of the slate. Before we jump into the second game, let me know your thoughts. So let me know if there's anything from that particular game that stood out to you, something that you like. Maybe you have an angle. Drop it in the comments down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Help your boy grow. We've got the Indiana Fever versus the Chicago Sky once again. So these matchups are usually big and exciting, but with no Caitlin Clark, it's probably a little less exciting, I'd say. But the Chicago Sky are playing, which means it's a good day for betting. We've got a lot of props available too from this game, so let's talk about it. We've got Ariel Atkins, and over the last 3 games, she's figured out how to play basketball again. She's taking amazing volume, 15, 14, 14. I bet on her last time against the Fever. I don't know who it was, but it was somebody. I bet on her against somebody, and she was ass because she didn't even take shots. I think it might have been this game against the Spark. But she's figured out her role. In the last 3 games, the volume is definitely up. The Sky have definitely changed something in their offense. But at the same time, Ariel Atkins, her points line is at 15.5. She's cleared this easily in her last 3, though. Let's break down the matchup. So Atkins is a perimeter shooter, scoring predominantly as a spot up and in transition. Tough matchup for spot up shooting against the Fever. The Fever actually defend the 3-point line quite well this year. Last year, they were absolutely terrible at it, but the middle of the pack in points allowed above the break. They allow the 3rd fewest 3-point attempts. Looking at Atkins, she's not heavily reliant on the 3-point line, though. Can score in a variety of ways. Where the Fever have been awful, though, is defending this restricted area. Right under the basket, they've been absolutely ass. So I'm a little bit torn here. So the matchup for Ariel Atkins isn't great, but Ariel Atkins over her last 3 games, her volume is great. So let's talk about it. So spot-up shooting. Her games against the Wings, they're the worst team at defending spot-up shooters, and she killed them. The Mercury, not so much. So we can explain that. The matchup was great. What about in terms of above the break? So we can see here the Fever, 6th most points above the break. The Dallas Wings, 3rd fewest. And the Mercury, the fewest points above the break. So even though those matchups you would say are they're more difficult, they limit points above the break, she still absolutely cooked them. If we look at defensive rating, I'm more looking at this Mercury team, to be honest. The Mercury are a good defensive team, whereas the Dallas Wings are not. And against a good defensive team, she still scored 21, given the Sky have revamped their offense. So, yeah, I wouldn't count Ariel Atkins out here. I lean to her over for points for sure. I like what I see here, despite the difficulties in the matchup. Because, yeah. What do we have? Assists, lines at 3.5. I can't really trust anyone outside of Ariel Atkins to score a ton of points, unless we look at Angel Reese, but not loving the assists. Rebounds, lines at 3.5. She's hit this in 4 of 6. Whoa, check this shit out. That's a whole lot of green. 10 out of the last 12 guards have covered their rebound line against the Fever. The Fever allow the 4th most rebounds in the league. They allow the 5th most rebounds to guards specifically. And a lot of that has to do with their offense. They rely on a lot of outside shooting. So there are long boards. She did have 4 rebounds last time against the Fever in 22 minutes. Last couple of games, we're seeing 26 to 35 minutes as a range. So her minutes aren't as guaranteed. But, yeah, the rebounds could definitely fall her way. I don't mind leaning to the over there in her rebounds. Maybe her points and rebounds look perhaps. But I don't mind that. Her points and her rebounds are okay. It's just a little bit difficult betting on guards to rebound with much confidence. Because even though a lot of these guards cover their rebounding lines, the one thing I'll call out here, a lot of these girls, they are strong rebounding guards. So 3.5, I would say Ariel Atkins is not a strong rebounding guard. If we look at her games last season and this season, she averaged 3.1 rebounds, right? So we need 4 rebounds for her to cash. And if we look at this, we've got Brittany Sykes, Sonia Citrone, Marina Mabry, Sykes, Citrone again, Natasha Cloud, Ionescu, Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, right? A lot of those guards are a lot bigger than Ariel Atkins, but they're also stronger rebounders as well. So I will call that out. Ariel Atkins is probably on the smaller side for a guard, probably average, to be honest. There's girls a lot smaller than her, but a lot of these girls here are strong rebounding guards. I wouldn't put Ariel Atkins in that category. So I'm going to fuck off on that rebounds. I'm not playing it. The points, though. Ariel Atkins points, I don't mind the over there. And it's at pretty good odds at 15.5. We've got a high total at 167. We've got Angel Reese over 11.5 points. Now, Angels over this in 4 out of 6 games, averaging 10 per game. Scored 12 last time against the Fever, shooting 5 for 14. Obviously, her percentages have been dog shit. Let's take a look at her field goal percentage this year. 30% from the field for Angel Reese, which is crazy when you score 92% of your points in the paint and you're shooting 30% from the field. I wonder what last season was. Last season, she shot 40%. So this season, she's shooting a lot worse than she was last season. So you could say that there is some positive regression that could be happening. It could happen. I'm not saying it will, but it could. 11.5 points, though. Let's get back to the story here. So Angel Reese scoring a lot of her points right under the basket. As we discussed, the Fever allowing a lot of points down there. Free throws, transition, putbacks. So the matchup I wouldn't say is the best, but 11.5 seems quite low for Angel Reese, I got to say. And it might be because I'm getting in early because, yeah, she's still covered this quite well. Like this Liberty one, that's a tough matchup. Let me go to Angel Reese scoring a lot of her points in transition. Let's just look at the restricted area. So the Fever are the only team that they've really played that I would say suck at limiting points in the restricted area. All these other teams actually do a good job of limiting points down there. So Angel Reese over 11.5 points, if you're down for that. Her assist prop, which I've been sucked into betting this before, 2.5, heavily juiced to the over. I don't love it enough to play that. Rebounds at 12.5 for Angel. Under in her last 2. She only hit this in 2 out of 6. She had 17 rebounds in her last game against the Fever, though. The Fever do allow the most rebounds to her position. I think that's one thing to call out. The issue here is Angel Reese relies on putting shots up in order to get her own rebounds back. And at the moment, she's not taking a lot of shots on a consistent basis. I read some comments about Angel Reese wanting to be more patient. So, yeah, and if she's going to be more patient, she's going to take less shots, she's going to pass the ball out a little bit more. So, and if she finally makes some shots too, that's going to limit her rebound chances. Look, I'm going to lean on the under here to those boards. I think 12.5 might be a little bit too high. This ain't the same Angel from last season. Last season, she averaged 14 rebounds a game, though. So that's pretty wild. Let's look at the head-to-head stuff against the Fever. Yeah, historically, 4 out of her last 5 games, averaging 14 boards per game. I think that might be enough for me to stay away from it. All right. Kia Nurse, what's Kia Nurse doing? She's over in 2 out of 6 games this season. Kia Nurse heavily reliant on outside shooting, but the matchup against the Fever is a tough one. So she only had 4 points in her last game against the Fever. She was 0 from 6 from deep, 2 from 8 from the field. So missed all of her 3-pointers pretty much, played 20 minutes. Lately, minutes being a little bit higher. You could see some positive regression here, but let's say she shoots 2 from 6. That takes her up to 10 points and still under this line. So it's only on one book at the moment. So I'd probably lean to the under there for Kia Nurse. Not too much confidence. We've got Courtney Vandersloot, who's been great. Check this out. 5 straight games, she's gone over this points prop of 10.5. Last game against the Fever, though, she only scored 4 points. She was 2 from 9. So she sucked, didn't get that game. She scores predominantly as a pick and roll ball handler. So let's look at that. In terms of defending the pick and roll, she covered this line in both games against the Dallas Wings, who allow the fewest points in the pick and roll. She's still covered. In softer, she's pretty much covered in every game except the Fever. Again, limited sample size of data here. Although she scores a lot in the pick and roll, the most of her points are around the basket when she attacks. And as we know, the Fever do allow a lot of points down there. So Courtney Vandersloot over 10.5 points makes a little bit of sense to me here. Hit rate is nice and all, but yeah, just the fact that she's getting pretty decent volume. So even on this worst game, she took nine shots. So the lowest number of shots she's taken in a game this year is 9 attempts. If we look at historically, and we look at her attempts, and we look at games where she's taken a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 11. What does it tell us? So when she takes between 8 and 11 shots, she's only hitting this line 5 out of 12 games. I see. So a lot of the good games, though, are this season. It's crazy. Believe it or not, she's more efficient in playing back in Chicago. So, yeah, let's take a look. What about percentages? Where's she at? She's shooting 43% from the field this season, which is good. Good meaning like it's not outrageously high or low. It's like, cool, it's a nice baseline. It's probably how she normally does. Over the last 2 seasons, 46%. So less efficient this year, but the volume is nice. It's consistent. So Courtney Vandersloot, 10.5 points. I don't mind that. She can attack the basket. All right. Problem there is like Courtney Vandersloot and Ariel Atkins to get buckets. Ariel Atkins has taken a lot more volume and she's been pretty efficient in the last 3 games. Yeah, I'll decide later out of those two. Which one do I want to roll with? Vandersloot assists, lines at 6.5. She's over this in her last 3 with 11, 9, and 7 assists. So as you can tell, like looking at these Sky players, a lot of this has happened like over the last 3 games. So Ariel Atkins, and there might be some correlation here to Vandersloot assists and her Ariel Atkins points. So you can see first 3 games, 5, 3, and 2, and then 11, 9, and 7. Ariel Atkins, 11, 8, 9, and then 21, 17, and 26. So there's some correlation here between Vandersloot passing the ball and Ariel Atkins getting some buckets. So there could be some correlation behind that, but I need to dive into some game tape to see, because I've seen this connection a few times. How much of it is true? Kia Nurse, similarly, the last 3 games have been better. You should just notice we don't have any lines for Cardoso. She's playing. I don't know why there's no lines for her. But anyway, I'd be assuming Cardoso also has some stronger performance in the last 3 games. Actually, I already know she does, as a matter of fact. So Courtney Vandersloot assists, points, all that shit looks good. Rebounds, again. Yes, guards have rebounded well, but yeah, it's not her thing, right? So I don't want to put any money onto that. But Vandersloot points and assists. Points plus assists, perhaps, or just her assists. Shit. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I think there might be some value here. We could, maybe bitch ass this thing up and take Ariel Atkins for what? We look at her 3s? Nah, 3s are stupid. I'm not doing that. But we might take her for a lower point total, perhaps, with Vandersloot to get 5 assists, 6 assists. Who knows? But I think there's some correlation there with Vandersloot, Atkins, Cardoso, if she has some lines available. Just leave Angel Reese out of it. I don't want to fucking talk about this. All right, what do we got? Let's get to the Fever. The fever without Caitlin Clark. We've got Kelsey Mitchell. Finally had a strong scoring game without Caitlin Clark. Prior to that, she'd be struggling. So Caitlin Clark's been out these last 3 games. Points props at 20.5. Kelsey scored 15 last time against them, but Caitlin Clark was there. I think she had a strong game. Without Caitlin Clark, we're seeing some volume of 16, 15, and 14 shots. So if anything, her volume is down a little bit compared to when Caitlin Clark is there. So at first glance, I'm like, this line's a little bit higher. But I will say this, the matchup is fantastic because the Sky, their perimeter defense sucks. Most points above the break, a lot of points of the pick and roll, transition, all that stuff. So some contradicting things here. So the problem is Kelsey Mitchell probably doesn't take enough shots to score this many points. But at the same time, the matchup is so soft, she might be efficient scoring based on her volume of shots. So I'll probably pass altogether on Kelsey Mitchell. We've got Aaliyah Boston. Now, Aaliyah Boston has struggled scoring without Caitlin Clark. She's only had the one decent game, but she was 8 from 10. So when I say there's a problem, it's mainly volume. So she scores a lot of her points in the post and in the pick and roll. With Caitlin Clark, there hasn't been much success in that pick and roll, so a lot of it has been in the post. She scores 24% of her points down there. The Sky allow the fewest points in the post in the league. And she scored 19 points against them last time. She was 8 from 12. Also hit a 3-pointer as well. They won that game by 35. She probably plays 29 to 30 minutes again. I can't help but lean to the under here. Like, I know that the Sky allow the second most points in the restricted area, but I don't know if Aaliyah Boston can get the volume here without Caitlin Clark. So in the 3 games without Caitlin Clark, if we look at field goal attempts, she's averaging 6.7 shots without Caitlin Clark, whereas on the season, she's at 10. So there's a big drop-off in terms of her volume. And if she needs to cover 16 points and she's taking about 7 shots, even if we give her 8 shots, like, she should have to make all of them, right, to score 16 points. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Definitely some room for improvement. All right. So Aaliyah Boston, despite the matchup being nice and her covering easily last time, I can't help but lean to the under. Lean into the under there, 15.5 points. Assist-wise, line's at 4.5. That's heavily juiced to the under. 8 assists against the Connecticut Sun, which, well, she has been getting more assists without Caitlin Clark, so that makes sense. 4, 8, and 4. The 4.5, yeah, I probably lean to the under, but is she going to get close? Last time against the Sky, she had 0 assists, but no Caitlin Clark, right? Changes everything. The matchup is a nice one for her to get assists, so I'll probably pass on that. And then we have rebounds. Line's at 8.5. She hasn't rebounded well in the last 3 games since Caitlin Clark's been out. I don't know how Caitlin Clark not being there would impact her rebounds, though. I think a lot of this might be foul trouble because her minutes haven't been strong. 8.5. She had 13 boards against the Sky last time. I will say this. It's a 3.5-point spread. The Sky's offense is looking better, so there's not going to be as many rebound chances. I don't think she'll get 13 again, but they're giving us a line of 8.5, and it's heavily juiced to the under. So I'll probably lean that way with it. But I think, yeah, if I was going to bet on Aaliyah Boston, probably under 15.5 points. Let's go back and hit that. We got Lexi Hull, who's been fairly decent without Caitlin Clark. She's seen a bump in her minutes, 31, 35, 36. On the season, she's playing 29 per game. So definite increase in her minutes with Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark out. Lexi Hull's going to see more minutes. Last 3 games, we're looking at 8, 8, and 9 shot attempts. Prior to that, we're looking at 9, 7, 4, 10. So, yeah, probably I wouldn't say an increase in her volume. I'd probably just say more consistency. She scores as a spot-up shooter in transition. Also scores around the basket as well. She scored 9 points against the Sky last time. She was 4 from 10 from the field, 0 from 4 from deep. So a bad shooting night. She's hit a 3-pointer in every other game this season. So for Lexi Hull at 11.5, I'd lean to the over here. I don't mind the over here for Lexi Hull. It makes a lot of sense to me. More opportunity, a consistent opportunity, and you would assume she's going to shoot better. So, yeah, I like the over there for Lexi Hull. Natasha Howard, her line's at 10.5. Her line was like 14.5 in the last game or something stupid. She didn't get close to it. 10.5. Yeah, now you got me second guessing things because That's pretty much what she's averaging over her last 3 without Caitlin in the lineup. Rebound-wise, lines dropped down to 5.5, and I think this is because her minutes have come down as well. I'm not overly excited to bet on Natasha Howard rebounds because her minutes be a little bit all over the place. So pass it on that. But where was I in this game? So Ariel Atkins, don't mind her over in points. Courtney Vandersloot, points and assists got my attention. Aaliyah Boston under her points. Lexi Hull over hers. So quite a few I need to break down. The last game we've got is the Storm versus Mercury. But before I talk about that, a reminder for you guys to use Player Profit. Player Profit is where I'm running a lot of my straight picks on there. I've got a $100,000 bankroll to play with on Player Profit. And yes, I need to get it funded, but I've done the math. It cost me 10 units to buy this bankroll. The only way for me to lose the challenge is if I lose 15 units. And if I lose 15 units anyway, I would have lost the initial stake that I put in. So once I get this funded, the profit margin is going to be huge. If I can get 10 to 20 units profit a month, we're looking at $7,000 to $14,000 cold hard cash in my pocket. So, and another thing I like about Player Profit, I shared this on Winnable yesterday, is sometimes the lines on Player Profit are mispriced, right? We look at the traditional sports books, we look at the lines. I find the bets that I like. When I go on Player Profit, sometimes I see that the lines haven't moved there. So, for example, we just cast Dejanay Carrington over 14.5 points yesterday, or today as I record this, and that was at like minus 120. Over on Player Profit, they still had the line at 12.5 at minus 125, and I put $5,000 on that. Sweat-free winner right there. So check out Player Profit. I'll leave a link to that in the video description below. Storm versus Mercury. What do we got? No major injury updates. Obviously, Phoenix are missing a lot of people. Copper and Alyssa Thomas are the main ones. So a lot of their offense goes through Satu at the moment. But since Alyssa Thomas has been out, they have had some rare big scoring nights from random players I've never seen before. So just keep that in mind. Satu, we're looking at 6-point spread, a low total of 156, right? Could be a game prime for unders. Satu 19.5. Let's look at games without Alyssa Thomas. Yeah, 2 and 2, averaging 21 points per game. The matchup for her, not great. Free throws, transition, spot up shooting. So in all the ways she likes to score, it's a tough matchup. They do allow a lot of points in the paint, though, which is a problem. But Satu not really getting to the paint as much. So I don't really like the points. I don't want to bet the over or the under. I don't like the assists. The rebounds at 8.5. I guess the good thing here is we've seen her play the Storm twice already this season. We've seen 27. That was at home. 15 on the road. Now she's back at home again. So if you believe in those types of trends, you might want to lean to the over. This Mercury team's played a lot of games. Home games this year, she's over in 4 out of 6, averaging 21.5. Home games without Alyssa Thomas, 1 from 2. So, yeah, small sample size. Rebounding-wise, in the head-to-head, 6 and 9. The assist-wise, she's gone under her assist line in every game against them, in the win and the loss. So 2.5, you're getting plus money for under 2.5, but that's going to be sweaty as hell. Because if we look at her assist line, assist numbers without Alyssa Thomas, she's averaging 3.3 over in 2 out of 4. But yeah, so probably nothing on Satu unless we can anticipate. No, I don't want to anticipate shit. I'll just be guessing. I ain't here to do any guessing. What do we got? Samuel Whitcomb. The points line's at 9.5. Couple of books, 8.5 on Bet365 and Bet Online. She's heavily relying on 3-point shooting. 57% of her points from above the break. Matchup's not too bad. I've got no interest in betting on her. We got Luxa. Luxa sucked against the Valkyrie. She only took 5 shots. She made 2 3-pointers, though. You can't bet on her 3-pointers made prop. I'm assuming it's at 1.5. Played the Storm once. She played 15 minutes. These days, playing 25 to 30, but nothing's poking out at me there. So, on to Seattle. We've got Skylar Diggins-Smith, who's been relatively quiet shooting the ball. Now, a lot of people bet on her against the Dallas Wings. She only took 7 shots in that game. Up against the Mercury for the 3rd time. She scored 21 and 24 points in the 2 games against them earlier this season. The matchup for her is okay. They allow points in transition. Skylar Diggins, but the question is, will she take more shots? We're seeing more of the emergence of like Gabby Williams is playing good and consistently. Erica Wheeler's taking quite a bit of volume as of late, which is kind of taking away from Skylar Diggins. So I'm a bit hesitant to bet on her. Assist-wise, lines at 6.5. She did have 14 assists against them in the last game when they won by 7. In the first game against the Mercury, she had 4, but that was more because her teammates weren't scoring. Over her last 4 games, her assist volume has dropped off 3, 3, 5, and 5. And I already know a lot of this has to do with Erica Wheeler and her emergence. Let me double check something, because Erica Wheeler doesn't have her stats available on Props Madness because there's no lines. But I'll share this with you. This is Erica Wheeler right here. And looking at her more recent games, we can see 11, 5, and 7, 8, 4, and 4, 14, 5, and 5, 10, 3, and 3. So it's really her last 5 games. She's been heavily involved. You can see her assist numbers are great. And if we take a look at Skylar Diggins, her last 4 games have been pretty ass. When it comes to diming up, that is. So 6.5 is quite high. If we say Erica Wheeler's been heavily involved for the last 5. Let me double check that once more. So the last game was against the Las Vegas Aces. Erica Wheeler was okay. Cool. Let's take a look. So the last 5 games, this is where Erica Wheeler's been more prolific and dominant. Skylar Diggins-Smith, if we just look at her PRA, she's under her PRA in every single game. So that's interesting. Erica Wheeler being a dog, which means Skylar Diggins-Smith doesn't have to be. PRAs are only available on Prize Picks, so I'll pass on that. What about points and assists? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, 23.5 points and assists. She's gone under this in every game since Erica Wheeler has logged some heavy minutes. Interesting. Let me look at Erica Wheeler a little bit more. Maybe it's something I'm missing here. So prior to Erica Wheeler being a dog, she was still playing decent minutes, I guess, just not doing as much. I wonder if we look at Skylar Diggins-Smith, if there's a clear drop in usage rate. So usage rate, I would say there is. Some games it's high. Sometimes she just sucks. 19 to 28, 33. First few games we had 30, 23, 28. So not a massive drop-off. We've got a small sample size of data. But what I will say is Erica Wheeler, I'm going to make sure she's playing. There's no injuries. Erica Wheeler's not starting. I will call that out, but she does log heavy minutes. Gabby, Alicia Clark, starting. So I think the only concern I have with Skylar Diggins and this points and assists is the fact that she's had 25 and 38 points and assists in the 2 games against the Mercury this season, although they were at the start. They were very early. So, yeah, it depends how you look at it, right? You could just look at the last 5 games since Erica Wheeler's been a dog, and you're like, nah, this is why Skylar Diggins-Smith has dropped off. It's because of Erica Wheeler. But Erica Wheeler still played in those other 2 games against the Mercury. She played 17 and 23 minutes in those games, but Erica Wheeler was just ineffective. So, yeah, Erica Wheeler could come out and suck, and then Skylar Diggins-Smith has to do everything. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm not going to get too excited about this bet until we ever get Erica Wheeler props. Then maybe I do some correlation stuff there. But that's just some interesting insights for you, I guess, and me just fucking around. And this is how I brain dump things. We then have Onyeka Ogwumike. Oh, I feel like I might have to run this back because she cooked us in the last game. Her volume hasn't been very high in her last 2 games, though. 13 and 11. Like, what are you doing, woman? She's had 1 good game and 1 bad game against the Mercury. The matchup is okay. But again, this is a game probably more primed for unders, so I'm not too keen to bet the over. Rebounds, her line is still at 8.5. Even money on both sides, so the market doesn't lean a certain way right now for Onyeka. But yeah, just the lack of volume is what the concern is for the points. I'd bet the under, but the minute this shit starts falling for her, we're in trouble. So no leads there on Onyeka. We got Gabby Williams, who's been an absolute dog. So she's performed well over her last 4. So if you've got Gabby Williams and Erica Wheeler really doing some heavy lifting, that's why Skylar Diggins has dropped off. So it's not the Skylar Diggins play is probably not directly correlated to Erica Wheeler either, because Gabby Williams looks like she's been doing a lot, scoring the ball, bit of rebounding, a couple assists, but yeah, I wonder what's going on here. Let's take a look at her usage rate. Her usage rate has gone up in the last 4 games, so that helps. Usage rate climbing, steady climbing. Field goal attempts, they're also a lot higher in the last 4 games than compared to a season average. 11.6 is an average. Over the last 4, she's up to 13.5. So, yeah, Gabby Williams doing more, scoring more, yada, yada, yada. So, Gabby Williams, we've got the opposite to Skylar Diggins. Gabby Williams has struggled to score in the 2 games against the Mercury. 4 points and 11 points. 9 shots in both games. But over the last 4 games, she's taken 13 shots per game. Interesting. So is there something about this matchup that makes it difficult for Gabby Williams? Or was it purely the fact that it was the start of the season? That's what you got to ask yourself. Now, if we dive into this matchup, in terms of play type, it's probably a mid matchup. When it comes to season shot charts and stuff, Gabby Williams does rely on some outside shooting, not overly. This Mercury team does limit points above the break, though, so she'd have to get them in other ways. But let's take a look at this. Season trends, spot up shooting, the Mercury, 5th fewest. She's had easier and more difficult matchups and still covered this line. Above the break scoring, though. So over the last 4 games, she's had a lot more easier matchups when it comes to points allowed above the break. The Minnesota Lynx, actually, I'm looking at this. All of the matchups she's had have been difficult for above the break shooting, because a lot of these teams probably leak points in the paint. So the softest matchup she's had in terms of her shot zones is the Minnesota Lynx, but they allow the 5th fewest points above the break. So all these matchups be a little bit difficult. So for Gabby Williams, I'll probably lean to the over. Something I need to dive into a little bit more, though. Lean to the over for her points. Got no idea with the assists and rebounds. There's no clear trends there. And we've got Ezi Magbagor. Ezi Magbagor's lined at 8.5. 7.1 this season, under in both games against the Mercury. Her volume is relatively low. I probably lean to her under because, this is not too bad. 9.5 is an under. That's what I'm talking about. 9.5 for Ezi Magbagor because Dominique Malonga has been playing better and better and better. Let me take a look at Dominique Malonga. We'll pull up her game log on ESPN. Jeez, tough name to spell. I wish I finished school. All right, so this is Dominique Malonga. And Dominique Malonga, I keep saying it, don't I? Minutes-wise, she's not really stealing too many. 11, 13, 9, 10, and 12. She has been very effective, though, in the limited time that she's getting. So she's not taking minutes away from Ezi Magbagor. Not yet, anyway, but I anticipate she will at some point. Ezi Magbagor, not necessarily seeing the volume. The matchup for her is not too bad, honestly. This Mercury team does give up some points in the paint. To the pick and roll man. Not many to put back shooting, though. But I do lean to the under for Ezi. Let's just call it that. Rebounds at 7.5. She's got a floor of 7 and a ceiling of 10. Averaging 8 rebounds this season. It's an unders type of game. So for Ezi to get some sort of rebounds is probably a look. Like if you're looking to build some parlays, you might want to take Ezi for 6 boards, for example. Like she's been crushing that. She'll be out there for a long time. So it's rare you see a player this consistent, which makes it difficult to cap like a proper line. But when you're looking at bitch-ass lines like this, Ezi Magbagor to get some rebounds might be all right. But yeah, that's pretty much a wrap on that. Let's recap this Storm Mercury game. Sartu, I got no idea. Sammy, I'm not interested. Luxor, I got no idea. Skylar Diggins, the under for points and assists, screams out to me. And we can see here Gabby Williams and Erica Wheeler really plugging along. Nyeka Ogwumike, her volume is trending down. There could be a bounce back spot, but volume trending down is the main issue. If it was just field goal percentage, potentially bounce back, but the volume's not been there. And that's probably because Gabby Williams, Erica Wheeler doing a lot more. So leaning to the over there for Gabby Williams, leaning to the under for Skylar Diggins, Magbagor, bitch-ass parlay on those 6 boards. We'll see. But All right, the next steps for me. I need to edit this video, upload it. Once I've uploaded it, I'm going to use AI to listen to this whole video. Then it's going to pull out what my leans were because I foolishly didn't write any of these things down. And then from there, I'll do some deeper dives and try to finalize my picks. But yeah, long ass video. I didn't even realize it took this long. But if you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for showing your support. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Drop me a comment down below. I wish you the best of luck if you're betting on these 3 WNBA games. Gamble responsibly if you want to. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.